Hello everyone! So this is going to be my October wrap-up. I read 8 books in October and I had actually a really great reading month. I didn't rate anything lower than a 4, so that's pretty great. At the end of this video I might add a couple updates as well on my life and a few things, so if you want to stay for that, just so you know, after I talk about the books, I'll share a little bit more about my life. So the first book that I want to talk about is called Tacos for Two by Betsy St. Amant. This is a new release that came out in October and I was sent it by the publisher, so I'm really thankful for that. So thank you, Revel. And I really enjoyed it. This is such a funny story because of like the situation and then just the way that it was written. It had a very nice humor running all through it. So this follows 2 characters that have a food truck. The girl inherited her food truck from her aunt. She doesn't really love cooking at all, but she's doing it kind of to support the family and just because she feels like she has to. And then you also follow this guy who's a lawyer. He's the son of like a really big time lawyer, and him and his brother work at the law firm. But he actually would rather cook. He just has always loved cooking, but he feels like he can't because his dad is like pretty controlling like that. And he ends up entering a food truck competition the same one that the girl is entering. So they both enter this competition, so they're kind of rivals. So you're kind of following that story of them trying to like prepare for this competition and then everything that happens with it. But then also the added kind of fun part to this is there's this dating app, I guess, that pairs you up with someone close in your vicinity, but it's totally anonymous and you're just messaging back and forth. These two have been talking on this app without knowing it, and their conversations through the app are really, really cute. I find that like authors are really good at writing messaging conversations because like I've read some really good ones and this one's no exception. It was very funny. And so this is a clean romance. It is like sold with Christian books, but they don't really talk about it. Like faith isn't a big part of this book. They mention the Bible a couple times, but other than that, it's mainly just a clean romance. And I just thought it was very sweet. I really enjoyed it. Super easy and quick read. And yeah, I would recommend this one for sure. So next I want to talk about Smokescreen by Terry Blackstock. I read this as an ebook through my library and I ended up loving this book. I was very pleasantly surprised. I feel like in one of my comments on one of my videos, someone warned me that it was not that good, and so I was like, okay, but because it's a standalone, I really wanted to read a standalone. I find a lot of like romantic suspense and just like kind of Christian books in general are not often standalones that I've been reading. So anyways, I read it because it's a standalone and I had it on my phone and it was really easy to read. So as soon as I got into it, I really liked it. Like I thought the hook was really good because you're following this woman who is divorced. She has 2 kids. Her dad was a pastor and she's grown up in this small town her whole life. She has kind of this perfect Christian girl image on her, but she's also an alcoholic and she struggles with alcohol. When her kids are gone, she drinks. And I haven't read a book like this before that showed alcoholism in this way. I just really appreciated reading about it for some reason. Like obviously it's really sad and like it ruins lives and it destroys families, but I just don't read about it very often, and so I really liked that aspect of the book. I just thought it gave it more realness and heart to it. And then the guy is just so sweet in a really like nice way. Like it didn't feel cheesy. It probably was, but for me, I just didn't find it cheesy because to me it's so refreshing seeing a man be so respectful of a woman and also just actually care about her well-being and what she thinks and feels and what she's going through. I just loved it. Yeah. So the guy's story is he is a firefighter, but he ends up being in a bad fire that burns him pretty bad, so he's on bed rest, and so he moves back to his hometown where the girl is because they grew up together. So I guess it's a second chance romance for sure because they also dated when they were teenagers. And I think I've said this before, but second chance romances are not a trope that I enjoy to read, but this one really worked. I really liked the way it was written. It didn't feel like, no, they broke up for a reason. Like, why are they still together? Why are they together now? But no, it was more like a persuasion type of second chance romance because they were broken up kind of because of their parents. So the overarching story here is his dad was convicted of killing her dad. So there is a murder kind of going on. It was a long time ago though, like 14 years ago. And now they're trying to figure out, like, did his dad actually kill him? And so it's all mysteries revolving around that. Her ex-husband is the worst. And I just feel like, are people actually like this? Because if they are, I'm just so sad. Like, anyways, I really liked this book. I really did. And I thought the faith was great. The fact that she was a pastor's kid, like, she had to process her image basically, and she felt like she ruined herself because of the divorce and drinking. So she's like, does God even love me anymore? Like, I've kind of messed up pretty bad. And anyways, I thought that the way that the author showed their faith progression was also very good. So I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was a 5-star book. Okay, another 5-star book. I'm really excited to talk about this. This Present Darkness by Frank E. Peretti. Yes, I have a whole video talking about this book, vlogging it, reviewing it, whatever. I'll link it down below. I loved this book. I really think, did you hear that? I really think that this book has so much power for a Christian. If we can, like, believe that the power of prayer is real and that we are so protected. Like, the second we call out Jesus's name, the enemy is immobilized. Like, if we just keep calling out to him, something has to change. Like, the spiritual world is affected by our prayers, and that's what this book showed me, and I loved that about it. It covered a lot of different aspects of being, like, stuck in sin, and then also just demonic oppression, and yeah. I'm sure everyone knows what this is about, but just in case, it does follow this small town. You're following a pastor mainly and a, like, reporter, editor guy who runs a newspaper, but you're also following the angels and the demons that are around in this town, and the prayers of the pastor are bringing the angels to the town, and things are shifting because of it, but there's a lot of demonic activity going on in this town. It's pretty freaky. It's linked with New Age and, like, kind of Eastern stuff that is just dangerous, and so it shows a lot of that. It is graphic in that way, I guess. There's definitely certain scenes that, like, show people practicing their New Age stuff, like meditation and stuff like that, and it's pretty intense. So that part made me a little uncomfortable, but only because I just know how real it is, and I appreciated that he didn't sugarcoat anything. So yeah, but then also you see the power of the angels, that prayer, like, strengthens them, and then they are able to fight against the demons and win. So yeah. I actually really liked that he made it way bigger than I expected. This is not just a small town dealing with some demons. Like, there's some major stuff going on, and I loved discovering that with the characters, and then seeing how the two, like, the pastor and the newspaper guy end up crossing paths, because I really expected them to meet really soon. Like, I thought they were going to be a team. So the way that it all happened was very fun to read. I thought it was a really well told story, and then the spiritual implications are just straight truth to me, and I loved it. So yeah, I can't wait to read more from this author now. I definitely am like, wow, he really has a sense for what's going on in the spiritual world, and yeah, I loved it. I could see myself reading this a lot of times, so I'm glad that I own it. Okay, then I read Firestorm and Dead End. These are the next 2 books in the Kaylee Quinn Profiler trilogy. I do have a whole video talking about this trilogy, reviewing it, so I'll link that down below. And overall, I love this trilogy. I gave every book 5 stars, basically. The second 2 I did give 4.5 more, like, because I felt like the first one really stood out. But I loved the progression of Kaylee as a character over the whole trilogy. I thought that was really good. And then also how her relationship developed with the guy. I liked it a lot too. But yeah, this is a FBI story where this girl is a serial killer analyst, and she tries to catch serial killers by figuring out their identity. And I just found it really fascinating. I haven't read something so specific like that before, like with serial killers. Kind of freaky to think about sometimes, but like, you know, it was still a well-told story. The faith in it really stands out. I thought the way that Kaylee practiced her faith was just so real and also inspiring, and just, I really liked it. So yeah, those books were great too. Okay, I have 2 thrillers to talk about and then a nonfiction, and then I am done. So first, Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars because there was a lot of swearing at one point. Like, there was a little bit of swearing sprinkled throughout, but then there was kind of a lot more at the end. So I wasn't thrilled by that. And it has to be like really bad words, you know, like why? I understand, whatever, but that's the thing. So I did overall really like the story though. I thought it was so fun the way it was told. So this follows kind of 2 timelines, but they're told in like a nice way. It's not just flashbacks. So this family bought this big old house that was said to be haunted. And they're like, whatever, we are gonna buy it because we have nothing else. So they buy this house and weird things happen. And I think after 20 days, they leave the house saying, we can't live there anymore, it's haunted, whatever. And the dad decided to write a book about it, explaining what happened. So it becomes a bestseller, and that's that. So that's one storyline. You're reading the book that he wrote about their time, and it's day to day what happened while they were staying at that house. And then however many years later, the daughter was like 5 or something, maybe a bit older, but now she's like 30. And her dad passes away, and she is given the house. So she's like, I have never believed my dad's story. I'm gonna go to that house and prove that it's not haunted, and I'm gonna sell it basically because I just want this out of my life. So she goes back there, and so you're following that storyline as well, her time there and the weird stuff that happens. And I really like so far. So I've read Lock Every Door and now Home Before Dark. At this point, I really like the way Riley Sager solves his thrillers, because I guess it would give it away if I said why, but just like, he gives an explanation, and I really appreciate that. So far that is like really what does it for me. Like, I really loved what it turned out to be. I thought it was all good. I liked it. So yeah, and I mean the suspense was great, and there was a couple like red herrings and then kind of like suspects that I was like, oh, I'm sure it's this, and then it was totally not. And just like things about the house, I thought it was great. There's one scene to do with snakes, so if you don't like snakes, that scene will be terrible for you, so just beware. There's a snake scene, and I was pretty grossed out. I had to like stop, so just so you know. I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah. The other like thriller, I guess, more sci-fi, I guess, I don't know, whatever. The One by John Mars. I did read it. I snuck it in at the last minute, and I enjoyed it. It was very fast-paced, very quick read, but there was a lot of things about it that I didn't like. So the premise is there's this DNA test that can calculate your DNA and find your perfect match in the world. Your DNAs are meant to be in harmony together, and they're your one. Romantically, I guess. They didn't really talk about it non-romance. It's all romance based. So interesting concept. I've heard amazing things about it, and I totally see why people like think it's amazing, but just like the relationships that you followed and the language used, and like it was pretty vulgar, definitely very vulgar. Just a lot of suggestive scenes, and it's told from multiple perspectives. I think about 5 people you follow, and all of them have been matched with someone, and you follow their story. Every chapter alternates perspectives, and I've heard a lot of people say this too, but like that the perspectives and the alternating chapters actually worked. Like I actually cared about each perspective. I wanted to see what was happening in all of them, and each chapter gave you just enough so that you were like, oh, I want to read more, but then you want to read the next one, and then you want to read the next one, and you just like, it definitely was like written really well like that. But there's just like a lot of language, a lot of graphic stuff. Just, yeah, not my thing. So I posted on Instagram, and a lot of people said that The Passengers is better, and if I liked the one, I will probably like The Passengers. So I definitely want to try reading The Passengers. I definitely see how good his writing is and like stuff like that. It's just like it's a little more away from my typical clean books that I try to read, so I wouldn't want to read like a bunch of his close together. Okay, and the nonfiction that I read is How Did I Get Here by Kane. I got an ARC of this, so yay, I got an ARC on NetGalley. I don't remember when it came out, I think a couple months ago at this point, but this book was just straight up helpful. Like, the way she talked, I've never read anything by Kane, but I've heard her speak a couple times, and I've heard her on like interviews and stuff, and she seems like an on fire woman. And I know a little bit about her background, but I don't know specifics. Anyways, this book is specifically about when you're doing everything you're supposed to, you're living your life, you're like a Christian and just like serving God, spending time with him, whatever, but then you just find yourself, one day you wake up and you're like, something's off. I feel like I'm far from God and I'm not happy and something's just not right. And I know that feeling so well because I am a creature of habit. I stick with my habits pretty well. And it's almost like I can become robotic in it, and I'm not mindful when I'm doing my habits, even if they're healthy ones, and sometimes I can just feel kind of like disconnected. And so I really connected with what this book was about, and she just like talked about how easy it is to just slowly drift and slowly like stop being intentional with your relationship with Jesus and even your own health. Just you suddenly realize like something's wrong. And so yeah, she like talked about that, and then she used so much scripture to back up what she was saying. Basically, like, we need to check in with God, we need to like really be aware of where our heart is, we need community, we need to know his word, we need to know the truth so that when we do find that we've drifted, it's not debilitating. It's like, oh, okay, but I remember the truth, so I'm going back, like stuff like that. She did also list a lot of things, and I actually thought that was pretty powerful. Like, she would list like character traits of God. She would list Bible verses and just stuff like that. And yeah, she just wrote very conversationally and easy to read. A little bit the stories that she shared, I was like, I just want to hear the good stuff, but she would tell a story to kind of like prove her point, I guess, or like show where she's going next. Sometimes I was into it, but other times I was like, I just want to, get the teaching that I'm looking for. But overall, I really loved this book. I thought it was great. I was definitely encouraged by it, so I gave it 5 stars. So yeah, that is everything that I read in October. So for my little life update, so I'm still in my class. I'm just taking one university class on the New Testament. It's very informative. I'm learning a lot. I have one assignment left and then the exam. My last day is December 9th, so just over a month to go, and I definitely have been like seeking what to do next. I mentioned this in my life update video, which I will also link down below if you want to see it. It was my September TBR as well. So I have been applying to jobs. I actually do have an interview lined up as well. The job, if I get this job that I'm interviewing for, it starts very soon. I won't say anything past that because like I haven't even interviewed for it yet, but I think that I have a good chance, but also like it's really hard to say that because if I don't get it, I'm just trying to like go with the flow. It is what it is. Trust that everything will work out. But I do really want this job. So if I get it, I'll share more about what it is. But that will definitely change my schedule a lot. So just a heads up, I'm gonna try not to let it affect my YouTube channel, but it'll definitely affect my reading probably. So yeah, it's fine, it's good, this is life. So that is what I wanted to share. I'll probably do like a fully separate video updating eventually. But yeah, I have class today, so I got ready a little bit earlier and I'm gonna go to class now. So thank you for watching this video, you guys. I will have a bunch of links and stuff down below, so if you want to see anything more that I talked about, it'll be in the description. And if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.